couple's fighting and there's really no answer because it's something that can't be resolved. And the only way that it actually can be resolved if they were to say, look, I think this, you think that, but ultimately this is what Allah tells us. So whether we like it or not, we're going to go with Allah. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Nazma Khatun. I'm a psychotherapist and I work with Muslim couples on relationships. And today I wanted to share with you something that comes up a lot in the counselling, and I see that generally that this comes up, and this is the idea of when people have conflicts, the underlying reason for those conflicts, and oftentimes it leads to a right not being fulfilled. And when we forget Allah or we don't know the rights of the other person fully, it infringes, and then that comes through in the relationship in other ways. So it doesn't sometimes feel like that the couple are fighting about something that is to do with the right. It could seem like a surface issue, but then when we talk to them and we dive into it a little bit more, we find out that, yeah, actually, this is not about the individual. This is something of a higher purpose. The thing that they're fighting about is to do with Allah. And ultimately, if they took it back to that and said, you know what, actually, I'm going to let this go for the sake of Allah because this person has this right, then that argument or the conflict that they're in is often resolved. It could be things to do with finances, it could be to do with, visiting family, it could be to do with, the rights of like intimacy. There's just so many things that come up because people just don't know each other's rights, or when they do know them, they're not willing to give it to the other person. And what I would say to you is, remember that your marriages are for the sake of Allah. Ultimately, they're for the sake of Allah. And if you want that peace, you've got to please Allah first, and then you will find that love and that connection and that peace in your marriage. But if you're not fulfilling the rights of your spouse, and so when you don't look at it from the lens of, what's this person's right, what you start doing is looking at it from the lens of ego and of, well, I don't want to give them that, or measuring it from your own akal, like measuring it from your own, what you believe is right. And what happens when you do that, there's a lot of grey areas. And so the couple's fighting and there's really no answer because it's something that can't be resolved. And the only way that it actually can be resolved if they were to say, look, I think this, you think that, but ultimately this is what Allah tells us. So whether we like it or not, we're going to go with Allah. And actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so great because by doing that, it takes a lot of pressure off you. Because then you're like, it's not my decision anymore. It's put with Allah. And when it's put with Allah, it relieves you. It relieves you of such a burden. And, remember that in this world, we might have a little bit more money, or, we might have said, yeah, you can't go and see your mother, or somebody might have, you can't go and serve your mother, whatever it might be. Like, we might be able to pull those boundaries in a little bit, but when we go to Allah, we have to answer for all of it. And that spouse, he will and she will turn against you, and it's scary. Our marriages are a service to Allah. They're a sense of worship. So my sincere advice today is go away and find out not what your rights are, but what are the rights of your spouse. And ask yourself, am I genuinely fulfilling them, or is there some part of me that my ego holds back and says, no, I want this, I believe this is right. It doesn't matter what we believe. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives that person that right, then we have to let it go and we have to give them that. I hope that this video helps you. I hope that you can take something away from it, and I sincerely hope that you turn back to Allah, because that's where you will find the repair. If Allah wishes for you to have that type of marriage where there's love and connection and mercy, then you will have it. But if Allah doesn't give it to you, then there's nothing you can do. So go back to Allah. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.